This is the Beige and the Bold, and today we are watching A Matter of Time. I'm Derek, and I've seen this episode 17 times.
And I'm Van Velding, and I have seen this episode 1 time.
You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, engage. So I don't know, what kind of 90s kid you were, but I am a 90s kid that definitely loves his Matt Frewer. I don't know exactly. He doesn't have kind of like a filmography that is what I would say cohesive. He's kind of all over the place, but it felt like everywhere I was looking, all the things I enjoyed, he was a part of on some level.
Yeah, I think part of it is that he's such a memorable looking guy.
Yeah.
But he was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep.
He was Max Headroom, which I think ran for like 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, it's still, we remember Max Headroom.
Yeah.
And he was recently in Altered Carbon, but he's been in stuff right up between those 2 times consistently.
Yeah. I like how here they're going, it's like, all right, we gotta go save some people that are like super sick. No, not sick. That there's some sort of atmosphere going on. And it's like, ooh, a time dilation. Mr. Geordie, do we have time? Yes, we have time. Ooh, goody. Let's go look at the time dilation.
It's a time thing. It happens. It's time. We get about one of these a month, really.
Yeah,
usually it's a cool mystery. And then he's like, oh, it's Mr. Wolf's time dilation. I was like, well, I just found it was on the... And he's like, no, Wolf. No. If that happens, this will be on your head.
Whoever dealt the information, whoever smelled the information, dealt the information.
And then Picard is so incensed. The guy's like, could you guys just move a little bit? He's like, move our ship? We were just hurtling through space at super light speeds. And then we came all the way back here for this, but we will not move 1 more minute. We're just done. He folds his arms.
Yeah.
You need more for this.
Right, and it is kind of funny how, but I mean that definitely feels kind of like it sets the tone for like her con man, right? He's if the con man kind of gives I don't know, like these kind of false kind of needs, it makes him feel like he's doing these calculations that we're not familiar with.
Yeah, he's a con man, and part of that is confidence. So he has to be able to tell Captain Picard to move over to the other side of the bridge.
Right. And say, I need to be right here, as if there's some sort of time significance of him being exactly where that was.
Yeah. And one of the questions is how much he really knows about what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, cool. 1701D, I feel like he had to read about that, somewhere.
But then it's written on the outside of the ship.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I guess maybe he's got to be at least perceptive. I mean, I don't know. It is kind of funny how we don't know how much information does he come in here with? How much intelligence does he have? We know he's charismatic, but that's kind of all we know.
I don't think that his intelligence is in doubt. He's obviously smart. Whether he researched this and memorized it, or whether he's just doing what was that show? Psych, where the mentalist.
Oh yeah.
Where he's just picking up stuff and putting it together as he's going. He's darn good at what he's doing. He's a good con man.
Yeah, it kind of made. I would totally watch.
By the ship.
I would totally watch.
It's written right there.
I would totally watch the Mentalist. The Mentalist version where it's just a spin-off and he's got to con these history folks into letting him do future Starfleet things. And he's just basically the mentalist inside of the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
Just cons every day, every week, just conning people in Starfleet for giggles.
Yeah. So, that'd be fun. And Matt Frewer does have the charisma to pull it off. That's part of why this episode, I think, is so memorable.
Yeah.
Some of those episodes people just forget. I think people generally have a good amount of affection for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people slept on Matt Frewer, or they were like me, and they thought he was Christopher Lloyd the whole time. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Because they look very similar, I would say. And
they go to the same barber. The irony of that is that Matt Frewer was the understudy because everyone wanted to be in Star Trek The Next Generation in the 90s.
Okay.
Robin Williams wanted to be in Star Trek, and so they wrote role for Robin Williams. but scheduling happened, and so Matt Frewer.
Yeah, I could totally see Robin Williams doing this, and that says something about Matt Frewer, right? That he's able to kind of step into those shoes.
Yeah, and you're not like, this is a Robin Williams type guy.
Right.
It does feel like his own character and his own twist on it. He's great.
Yeah. So I like how, he's selling just on charisma alone, this notion of just like, I'm just this enthusiastic historian, and I'm in the middle of it. Oh, goodness me, it's so good.
Yeah, just like going around Picard's ready room with their little wine going, oh my god, is this the original print of this? And Picard's like, yes, it is the original print of that picture.
Picks up his like garbage can, like, oh, we have this trash can. Like, oh man, this is great. Is the gum still underneath? The gum is still underneath.
This is in the Smithsonian by Kirk's hairpiece. It's just like... And that's the thing, is the first lie he tells, which is implicit in all of his other lies, is that these people are important. And Picard's like, we couldn't be that important. And he's like, okay,
even the
doors, man.
Yeah, even the door is like, nah, this guy's up to something. The door and Troy are the only two that are like, I don't know.
Empaths, man. Empaths.
Yeah, empaths.
Like, and he pushes too hard, and I think that's great that he pushes too hard and the conflict falls apart a little bit. Because, like, did they not have schematics in the future? Picard's like, wait, was there an apocalypse? Are there no more Galaxy-class starships or plans for Galaxy-class starships?
I can't tell you.
You can go to Boston right now and the Constitution's still there. Starships hang around,
Yeah, I like, and... one of the reasons why this kind of works is that this is a ship full of nerds, right? And this guy is kind of like, he's got kind of a streetwise. Like, these guys, like, as much as this series tries to sell us on, like, no, Riker knows his way around bars, he doesn't know ways around bars. Not the way Matt Frewer does.
No. Doesn't know his way around a comb the way Riker does.
Yeah, true.
But we talk about Tellurian Plague. And that is a reference from, I think, season 1, the episode where Troy is supposed to get married to like a 6 or something. And okay, he was an 8. And the Tellurians are people who are doubly plagued, once with the literal Tellurian plague, and then secondly with sick abs. So it's a good callback.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I actually kind of remember that episode. I knew it happened in the past. Cool. That is kind of a good callback.
Yeah, it's a really
and I like how Geordi kind of. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, it's a really subtle bit where they're like, oh, we need to fill in something from the universe. Let's take it from an episode we've had.
Yeah.
And it's a real simple ask.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess this is where he gets smitten with Crusher a bit. And look how taken Picard is. Like, oh, yes, you know everything I know, but this is so exciting.
Yeah.
And Troy's got to bring
being
these
every
nerds.
guy in a movie.
Yeah, Troy's got to bring these nerds down to earth. Like, listen, man, you guys are getting conned. No, he's a historian. You can't say that, Troy. Yeah, I can say it. I'm an empath.
Yeah. And Troy from the start is kind of skeptical. And I guess we'll talk about it in the scene about Troy.
Right, so, there is one big deal with Troy. So
here's the scene where they're basically just trying to get our ground rules across, but it still feels fun. People are excited. They don't know what's going to happen next.
Picard's excited. He's defending him right now.
Yeah, and I'd expect Picard to be like, wait, you're just from the future? You're a historian? Look, no, you get off my ship and then you come back with a good intrigue. We demand a mystery, we demand clues, and we demand catharsis at the end. You get off my ship, but I'm a historian from the future. No, you get off and you come back with a mystery.
Listen here, bucko. I don't know how they do things in the future, but in this century, we present a good mystery when we're time traveling.
We engage, we work together, we discover things about ourselves and our crewmates. You put a story together right now, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you, Worf. I don't want to do questionnaires either, man.
Yeah, the thing is, Worf is a nerd, but they kind of flanderize him into being a jock. Where he's like, man, I like questions and paperwork and quizzes and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Whatever.
Yeah, this is where we get like this somewhat of an implied notion that, well, not implied. I guess he does say it. Like, oh, this model of android, and so he's like, oh, I'm from the future, so I'm used to androids being all over the place.
Yeah, and Data trivia checks him on the Model T. And I wanted to see what the deal with the redstone missiles was. I didn't know if it was a future retroism thing.
Right.
But it turns out they were like real missiles from the 50s that were like precursors to intercontinental ballistic missiles. So not a Minecraft reference there, sadly.
Yeah. Unless Notch did some weird stuff. But this is interesting because he's very standoffish here with Data. And when I was first watching this, I never know, with the mystery, it's hard to know like what perspective you should kind of talk about it. But, in this scene, he comes off as just kind of treating Data like this servant, not worth kind of his time. And Data's, being inquisitive. He's being curious. And he just kind of like, look at this bit. I thought it was like, why is he being a jerk?
One, Data should know better than to ask these questions. And Matt Frewer is in a position to, have people wait on him because they want stuff from him.
Yeah.
Also, I know I was quiet there, but fuck Notch. Continuing on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So, it's pretty good where he kind of says even Data here is a little bit tempted to know things about the future.
Yeah, because Data, we don't really know how much Data cares about how long he's going to live. I mean, I assume Starfleet's going to, be old and dust, and Data's still going to be bopping along.
Yeah, and apparently Data does have some concerns about that, which is a good little character moment that's easy to miss.
Right.
So yeah, our plot.
Yep.
Our ostensible plot, I suppose. Planet's hit by a meteor, has clouds, getting cold, and they're going to try to release carbon into the atmosphere from pockets underneath the crust to cancel it out with global warming.
Yeah.
Basically a Futurama plot.
Yeah, well, I mean, cold things don't like hot things, so bam, QED.
Yeah.
This is I feel like this is an interesting plot. I like it when Starfleet has like science mysteries or science kind of jobs to do that aren't like deposing quasi gods or not giving weapons to dictators or some nonsense.
Yeah,
I like these kind of plots, and I feel like it could be on itself, but we kind of talked about this a little bit before, and I could see how it might be a little thin if this was the only part of the plot that we got.
I think it could work. I wish there was a little more to the science here, like 10 or 15 minutes. But, you have to inject some sort of drama into it. I think that's what this time travel plot does.
I love that Crusher does this. It's very kind of like self-assured, like, hey, nerds, come on, let's get the prof to drink with us.
Yeah. She's causing a problem. I mean, speaking of drama.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like your questionnaire.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's
here they are. Yeah, he either he has some sort of questionnaire bot on his ship that just can like spit these out, and look, he's doing that little kind of fist. He shushes Worf here. Come on now.
Yeah, and you're like, what's the point of this? I mean, maybe there's an assumption that Worf is going to be combative, but I don't know.
Yeah, like he shushes Worf, and then Matt Frewer's like, you're very calm. He's like, wait, shouldn't I be? I can't tell you that. And it's like, you just shuffed Worf for that. Yeah.
Worf is like, are you here because something big is going to happen in the future? And Rasmussen is like, I can't tell you that. But isn't it cool how sometimes there's a just before things happen? And you're like, the dude. The
Yeah.
Yeah. Just being a dick. But,
this is a little bit of a... Good?
It serves the con. It gives him that position of advantage that he kind of always has to be in to make the con work.
Yeah. And I like how he kind of turns it on here. Like, she essentially digs on his current time, but he responds to that with, like, isn't it fascinating the things that we're interested in history about?
Yeah. Because he's trying to figure out the most important things that he can copyright first. I know we're usually a little more coquettish about this, hitting the twists when they come, but this episode's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And, he's going to go back in time and sell all these things. And, like, it's pretty cool how he does it, and it's integrated so smoothly into that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and so he's doing such a good, like, and we don't know, like, they're expecting, of course, C4 and phasers, but like, it's interesting that he's kind of doing this kind of information fact finding under the guise of being a historian, even though this is kind of a little racist-y, like, because he's the only person of color at the table. Kind of could have dealt without it.
Yeah, he sticks that primitive line right across the blade.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's an issue from the writer's room.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I do want to mention this scene. He's going to come into the scene, Rasmussen is. He's going to have something in his hand, and then a few shots later, it's going to be gone because he puts it in his pocket. And it's not something that I think you really catch unless you're looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we already got kind of like with the apple in his room, we got kind of like that notion that like there he goes, there's something, it's all done, like his ends are free now. But like the apple in his room, he did that same thing. He just kind of pocketed it pretty smoothly. Right,
and that's another little story that's building up throughout this episode. Right, and I think I don't know. I think you might be right with the questionnaires in terms of maybe he did have some specific prep time. Or maybe he only knew the century. Because he does seem to know about Cleons, and he's from a century that doesn't know about Cleons.
Well, I mean, I guess we learn later that he's from the 22nd century, and someone from the future came to his time, and bad things happened. And so maybe he's able to kind of learn some things about that historian, and then like do those, just kind of wing it from there. I like this though, like how he says, like, "Oh, just don't listen to anything. I'm just gonna be a fly on the wall." And then like he's just with big flashing signs, like, "Hey, I'm a fly on the wall, but I'm gonna stop you from moving here."
Yeah, like he literally impedes Geordi. I do like how he sells it though, because he's obviously faking it in a lot of cases. Right. Oh, this is the dead giveaway that makes me feel bad that even at the age of like 8 or however old I was, I didn't realize he was a fake. Homer, Milton, Bach, Monet, Stevie Wonder, like those are all references from our past. There's not one future retroism guy in there.
Yeah.
It's always guy from the past, guy from the past, guy from the future that we never heard of. And we're like, it should have been a dead freaking giveaway that he was a fake.
And here we go. Just taking another thing. No big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is another kind of bit where he's trying to sell it too hard. And he just happens to try to sell it to Data, and Data wouldn't get it anyway. But he's a little uncomfortable, like, okay, maybe I gotta watch it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that there's so many times where he does push the con too hard, but he's done it so well in other places that it holds together.
And he's a little lucky that they're a little preoccupied, right? Like they're a whole bunch of nerds that care about human life, so they're super kind of focused on this, even though everyone's talking about the time traveler that's on board. So they're a little bit lucky. We can kind of forgive the crew here for not paying closer attention to Professor Rasmussen.
Well, they are though. There are like 3 stories here. Yeah, there is the planet that's too hot and too cold. Like a date. And there's the time traveler who knows too much about us, also like a date. And then there's the crew in the background trying to like solve the mystery of all the missing stuff and Rasmussen being weird.
Yeah, we don't see that bit. Like we just kind of get that later. I do like those little phaser blasts, and we'll get a few of them later as well. And that's a good economical use of like a very low budget special effect.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also a great use of, this thing is a very powerful ship. It is not a warship, but it's still using the power that it has to do good, constructively, scientifically.
Scientifically with our planet-destroying torpedoes.
Yeah, which they also do. They do fix geological things with torpedoes. They give them guidance and specialize the warheads, and bing, bang, boom. They solve a problem with it.
Yeah. I do like how we get some kind of, it'd be an interesting notion, dating this episode somewhat. Climate change is a big deal. And so this notion of like, we can use an Earth's climate the way we'd use like some sort of rat brain in a lab. We can kind of make these, hypotheses and kind of check things out, and maybe things will work out on a planet level. And that's just really neat, I feel.
Yeah, my understanding of climate change is such that you wouldn't have instant temperature even-offs. And even if you did, that would be really super bad. That climate change works much more slowly than volcanic ash cooling does. Yeah. But, whatever, it works, the TV show.
Yeah.
They don't need to belabor the point. I like it when they use real science, which to some extent is what they're doing here. They didn't hit a quantum plot device or anything.
And so this is, because Picard's kind of giving him a little bit of shade, we know that maybe something else is going on. Because before he was just, oh man, a time historian. This is dope. I'm enjoying this. Now it's like, maybe he doesn't trust him so much anymore.
Yeah, and we're getting little hints of that unseen third plot going on here. Where Picard's a little tired of this guy. We're about to have an entire encounter with Counselor Troy.
Right.
Which, again, this is an episode where Troy senses something is wrong.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, they act on it.
Yeah.
Like, they don't show it. There's no scene where Troy's like, I think we should look into this. And Picard's like, you might be right, Counselor.
But I feel like it still could have been... Like, here's what I would have done. Like, I still would have had Troy be kind of like, hey, I found him, instead of the Enterprise that finds him. But have just, like, one or two sentences where Picard instructs Troy, like, hey, listen, try to stay away from his emotions, try to stay away from his mind, because we don't want you being influenced and know some time things. And every now and again, she gets like this bit that she can't help. And she's like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. And then it could have been kind of this mystery, but we don't really get that because she just becomes this, I guess, ineffectual empath of just something's wrong and then fades into the background. Ooh.
She is effectual. We just don't see it, which, very slim difference, I admit.
Yeah.
But Rasmussen himself here really messes up. Troy was going to leave. The empath was going to leave. And he's like, no, I need to win her over. And it's like, you don't. What is she going to do? Give you the DSM-10? Like, you don't need anything from her.
Well, I think he's worried, right? Like, if you're a con man, the danger that you have is if anyone doesn't believe you. And so if someone's kind of giving you, like, that side eye, you want to kind of turn on the charm and hopefully they come onto your side of things. And with Troy, she doesn't. She's like, nah, it's not working, man. You're going to have to sell it to someone else. And he kind of does. He moves over to Crusher here, but albeit for what seem to be personal reasons.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's effective for a literal bullshit detector. But the thing with him and Crusher has been slowly built up. But like everything else, I think he overplays it. And I think the script overplays it.
Yeah. I think it would have been interesting. I don't know exactly how much she's kind of into it or not. She seems more kind of, I guess, she has her hair down more in this episode than I would say in past episodes. But he's kind of being a little bit gross here. Using the 90s metric of grossness, I'd give it about a C+ as far as how gross he's being.
But then he puts his arm up. And it's just too much. And, like, I don't feel it's reciprocated. Like, I don't feel it's reciprocated if he has to put his arm up. Yeah. And yet, later, we're going to have this show act like it was reciprocated. And it kind of was, right?
Yeah.
They shared a glance in the conference room. She invites him over to the table. But then he's doing this. And she has to, like, physically duck under his arm to get away from him. And it's not good. That's not chemistry.
Yeah. Right.
That's balls.
Unfortunately, this is 90s shorthand for chemistry, which does not age well. That's for sure.
No.
It's like, look, and like they talk about him stealing things, but he's like, you gave this to me, and I'm leaving. Like that lip bite. He's like, yeah, I like this girl.
Yeah, and he's kind of set himself up so he can't, get with her. But in a very organic way, they're giving us that object. He's walked off with another object. So why does he want these objects? He's from the future. We are intrigued. Yeah. And he's like, oh, the planet alarm is going off.
Yeah. Our patient's, hemorrhaging on the table. Yeah, when I first watched this, I kind of thought that maybe he was building like some kind of device or maybe like going to set up shop in a museum in the future or something like that.
Yeah.
I did not see this kind of twist that we get at the end coming.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, the cover holds. The cover holds for us, but not the crew. And that's kind of what you want from a mystery, right?
Right, yeah.
You want to be intrigued. You want to have clues. You want to have a chance of putting it together. And then when you look back on it, you want it to all make sense. And that's what a mystery story should do. And that's what this episode does.
For sure. So, here we're getting kind of play-by-play by Geordi. Apparently, we did a boo-boo. We oopsied We oopsied some volcanic eruptions and earthquakes.
We helped the planet fart itself back to health, but now it's prolapse, sir.
And so we get a pretty good line. So we've upped the stakes, right? Like some people now, other lives are on the line, and we're gonna get a good line from Geordi as a result, and it's just gonna be. I feel like he has the emotional core of like what the crew is about in this episode.
Yeah.
It's like, look, you see how these two diagrams line up? That's bad. Oh, I thought that was good. Nope, it's bad this time.
This is where we shot. This is where the bad stuff is. Did we do the bad stuff? I don't know. Let's ask someone on fucking Facebook. They said it's not us, but it's us.
Yeah, and you should feel bad.
I forget the name of this planet.
By God.
Pentarka.
Yeah.
I just... Picard, don't feel so guilty over doing the reasonable thing that you could do to save the planet. Like, what were your other options? Just buy them coats? I guess you could have bought them coats, actually.
Yeah.
But, and then just gone to, another Federation planet that's really cold and just import the biome. Just be like, look, there you go. It's a nice planet now. Enjoy your increased amenities costs.
Yeah. This is a good scene between Frewer and Data, or Rasmussen and Data, just because... they're so at odds with each other. Data's so competent and skilled, and he doesn't realize that's really loud for human ears.
Yeah, and they're also giving us a link here between Rasmussen and Data that I don't know if there's any actual payoff for it. I think it's just a link that he has with the character.
I think maybe you could say that at the end when he's like, I can only let Data in the ship, maybe that would have been like he trusts him or he knows enough about Data to do that until we get the twist.
Yeah. So, which we can talk about. But
yeah.
I like that Data can download MP3s. Data could apparently listen to 3 dozen of these, but Data only listens to a dozen because there's an aesthetic value to it.
Right. But he doesn't have emotions, so...
Yeah, there's something different to Data between knowing the music, experiencing the music, and then experiencing it for the aesthetics.
Right, and despite the writer's best efforts, they're doing they're leaving these little breadcrumbs unintentionally of hey, look, Data's developing emotions. You don't feel anything from art if you don't have emotions. It just becomes technical execution, and that's it.
Yeah. So there is something else going on there with Data. But also, recurring question that this crew should be asking Rasmussen, does something happen in the future? That there's just, no schematics of the Enterprise, no schematics of me, Data? Do people not write things down in the 25th century? I don't...
Right.
Does that become passé? Yeah. Everyone does everything on their brain phones, and then someone shakes the universe real hard, and they blink out like an Etch-a-Sketch? What the fuck, dude? It's
gauche. It's gauche to write things down. Only the pores do it.
It's all memes, and we eventually lost the actual words. So
yeah, there you go.
Duck hammer? Is that what this circuit is? A duck hammer?
We reached the meme singularity, and it all became memes.
So anyway.
Right, so he was doing the important calculations for Geordi, and Geordi's like, oh man, we got to figure this thing out, and we're kind of where Rasmussen's like, hey, I'm on my way out, and he's like, yeah, whatever, we got to do these important decisions we got to make about this planet because we've upped the stakes. And there's an interesting, it kind of culminates in somewhat of an unexpected way because Picard, now that he knows the stakes, brings Rasmussen in to have a conversation with him, and that'll happen a little bit later. But it has our two storylines sort of converge.
Yeah,
our two big ones
in a very organic way. I do also like that Picard is like, yes, and then a metaphor for something else. Data's like, yes, exactly like in an episode of Futurama.
I like that he fidgets with things. I fidget with things. It makes me feel... So Rasmussen doesn't know why he's here. I keep doing that because he occupies both spaces in my mind. Yeah. But this scene kind of destroys Picard's kind of integrity somewhat to me. Because, if you talk to people and they're Picard fans, they talked about him as this moral paragon.
Yeah.
But he'd sell his beliefs in a heartbeat if it would like save lives, and that just doesn't it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth.
You mentioned the fidgeting, and I think that it doesn't leave a great taste in Picard's mouth either.
Okay.
And I think we'll get to, I guess, the positive Flanderization of Picard later, but he's actually doing something not that morally reprehensible. He's not breaking the temporal prime directive. He's asking someone else to do it.
Yeah,
like every
which it's
alien
like,
from every planet.
Yeah. It's almost like very much like, no, there is no quid pro quo here. I'm just hypothesizing aloud while you're in the room to do something about it.
Wouldn't a cool kid tell us about the future?
I mean, you seem like a cool kid, don't you? You have a way of dressing. You have this laissez-faire attitude about your hair. That's what cool kids do.
Yes. Well, don't you think Mr. Rasmussen's cool? And he's like, I don't know, Captain. Only if he tells us about the future for something really important.
Ooh, yeah, you make a good point, number one.
But I think you do have like a legit complaint there. Picard is usually shown as this hidebound, highly principled, feet of clay. Oh, we must do the right thing no matter the quals type of guy. And I think there's a lot to unpack with that.
Right. We have seen him in previous narratives not do the easy thing because it wasn't right.
Yeah. And I think that's a little unfair. I don't think Picard's morality is as developed or as consistent. People see Picard as a good person.
Right.
But then you're like, well, what are the morals of Picard? And they're like, because like it's just whatever the episode demands. It's really inconsistent. Worf, a lie cannot be allowed to stand. So pick up your life, buddy. And,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really inconsistent, but the episodes are always written around him being right. And goddamn Sir Pat Stew is so f***ing great at this. You don't question it because you're in the moment.
I'm pretty sure that Professor Rasmussen was written to like eventually like hold up, his end, but I mean he breaks under the Picard speech for sure. Not necessarily right now, but at the very end he has this plaintive look on his face where he's like, oh man, I can't. And we interpret that as like he's struggling with his morals, but he literally can't. He doesn't know.
Right. In the first angle, we're like, he's just that principled. He just cares that much. How could he care so much about the future and not tell us? He must be a good, principled science guy.
Yeah.
But on the second run through, I think to have that different perspective for each watch, before and after, the revelation of the mystery.
Yeah.
When at the end, he's got to just be broken. Like, he would do it.
The
Picard speech worked. He rolled nat 20s, but Rasmussen just doesn't know.
Yeah, and he's doing everything he can to deflect him. He's like throwing him kind of like some kind of philosophy arguments, and Picard is like a dog with a bone. He's not letting go of this. And
not for anything.
Yeah, and here it is. Like, this is kind of like we're reaching the crescendo. And on the second watch, the first watch I didn't really notice it, but on the second watch, like his face right here, he starts kind of like the life kind of starts coming out of him, and he's like, I can't. I just can't.
He just came here to steal stuff.
Yeah, man. Why are you harshing my buzz? It's all fun. You don't need this stuff, right?
Yeah. And Picard's flexible morality aside.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's reasonable to ask someone to do this. But I don't think that it's a real hit on Picard. He's just really trying to get a dude to break his own moral ethics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, I'm a big, like, he's going off here about like, oh, every single little tiny choice is a big vector for like time, and I don't buy that. I feel like there's a magnitude to choices, and sure, whether or not people live or die on this planet, that's a big magnitude choice. But whether Picard chooses Earl Grey tea or green tea for his afternoon tea, that's not really a big choice at all. Yeah.
I think little choices can have big effects. We just never know which ones. And I think that Frewer is just nailed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
He's
great.
just. Oh yeah. It's good. And like he's broken. And then like we just like throw it on the floor. He's like, all right, well that didn't matter. That whole thing didn't matter. I'm doing this anyway.
New scene, new day, different lighting. All right, I'm Picard, and I'm going to go ahead and do the thing. And it's like, oh, did you have a revelation? Did you read the micro expressions of his face to find an outcome? Did tell you something off screen? Did you look at the like? No. I just think of myself as a man who take risks. So that's what we're doing.
And he's not. He's not a man that take risk. And that's just like that's part of what makes me annoyed by that scene too. Is that he didn't help. You just like. Rake this dude over the coals. He would have told you if he knew. And I was like, no, I already made my decision. I'm super cool. It didn't matter to me anyway. You're the one upset. I'm not upset. And,
it's like, what kind of morality is that?
Yeah.
What kind of morality is, I'm a risk taker. I'm a gambler. Shoot the planet, Data.
Shoot the planet. And so this is really weird too. Like, so we get like this, technological solution. I'm gonna go in later because I don't want to get over on Data's about to deliver a really good line here.
Yeah.
Not Data, Geordi. Geordi's about to get his good line. Realize that he's not coming up. He's staying down. Yep.
Yeah. What a damned hero.
I know, right? He's like, yeah, listen, I could go up there and do some things, but I could stay down here and look like a hero. And to be honest, I'm going through a bit of a dry spell, so it'd really help me to move forward if I just stay down here.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't even think the stakes are too high for us to fail. I think we can still fail. And Geordi can just be beamed out at the last second, and he'll still be hurt. And so I don't like, it's not like the entire ship is going to explode if this doesn't work.
Right.
Because there's going to be an episode next week. Geordi's going to be in it, probably, unless he dies like Tasha Yar. But,
womp womp.
So I think there's some real stakes that are happening here. And,
yeah, and it's just nice to see. It's just nice to see that that Geordi's like, nah, I feel like I'm more valuable, and so I'm willing to put my life on the line for it. And the funny thing is that like Professor Rasmussen, he doesn't know what's going to go on. He's just like, man, I really hope this is going to work out. Yeah, he's tense. And this solution is odd. Like, okay, we're going to ionize the atmosphere and then use our shields to, I don't know, magic the dust out. And it doesn't land.
They're using the deflector dish. I think this is the one where the deflector dish finally takes over the Bussard collectors for the all-purpose plot solution device. Which, admittedly, in season 5 it takes for that cliche to finally start manifesting.
Yeah.
But still, he's so nervous.
Yeah.
But it looks great. I kind of wish that they could have, like, taken the ship down into the planet and absorbed it with their shields.
Yeah, to me that would have been like that would make more sense. Like some sort of like diverting power to shields to positively ionize like just large swaths of the atmosphere, and then making another pass to like negatively ionize, gather a whole bunch in your shields, and shoot it out the way you're doing it now. Yeah. But this comes off a little bit more as like space magic, but whatever, it works, I guess.
It's like, what did you guys just put a giant magnet on this friggin' thing? And they're just so far away. Anyway,
right?
But it works.
Yeah.
And we lived. We did it. We saved the planet.
Yeah, and he's, oh man, Geordi gives us that great smile. It's like, still breathing. Told you it was going to work. Everything's fine. Look at me. I'm getting laid.
Unambiguous catharsis. With this guy right here, it's going to get freaky. Geordi out.
Everyone's just like top flying around. People are drinking. I think they're snorting something. I don't know. Things are about to get wild.
These Federation scientist jump shoots come right off, sir. Goodbye.
It's like, oh, hey, watch out. Don't wait out for me. Click.
And George's like, hey, Captain, you guys are going to arrest Rasmussen now because I have jip.
No, I've given one Picard speech and I'm due another one.
Yeah, he's about to leave, but he's still overselling it.
Right.
The line about Commander Riker being so tall is funny because, one, like, literally personnel files exist. And two, they're the same height. They're both 6'3".
Yeah. So. But I mean, we're playing with camera angles here. But that's something I didn't learn about Matt Frewer until a lot later in life, that he is a tall dude.
Oh, he is. And what Riker has hit with hairspray and coiffing, Frewer just hits with pure insanity. Or should I say Rick sanity?
Rick sanity, yeah. And look, he's all like, "Oh, everyone loves me. That's really great. I'm really glad." And they're like, "We got to search your vessel." And he's still trying to deflect it here, but he's like, "No, we're serious."
Worf puts on a rubber glove. Is that even necessary? And Crusher's like, no, but he likes it.
Yeah, it's a domination thing. All Klingons do it.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in the pre-roll that he could have just asked a bunch of ensigns for this stuff instead of actually stealing it.
Yeah, well, he didn't know anything about the replicators, so he could have just like set. It's like having a 3D printer in your room. You could just set 4 or 5 of them, to replicate a whole bunch of stuff, and then immediately teleport it to your room and call it done.
I actually want to say no, but now that I think about it, I think you might be onto something there. Like they wouldn't have told him about the replicator because they're ubiquitous and he's from the future.
Right.
He just kind of picks up stuff and asks for things.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to know that they exist. I think that might actually explain all of that.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that he says like, okay, you can search this, but only if Data comes on. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Like we as the audience say like, yeah, that makes sense. Data can totally like be ordered to not remember a thing. And everything's fine. And once we get in, the other shoe drops.
Yeah. And props to Worf for having an instant just saying, as soon as that door's open, hit Control K. All right. We only have 1 second. So we see that the inside of time ships are basically holographic trapper keepers from the 90s with one Lisa Frank in there somewhere. But,
I guess we didn't really we didn't really explore the holographic technologies of the 90s. We need to go back to it.
Yeah. But yeah, so he has this relationship with Data and then bam, pulls a gun on him. And now we get the real dude.
Yeah, the real guy that he's been hiding this whole time is like, "Oh no, you're just another relic, man. I'm about to like stun the crap out of you." And he's like, "Are you though?" Well, that comes a little bit later, but yeah. He's monologuing right here for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is a reused shuttle set, and they put extra stuff in it, and they cast for Robin Williams. But when you put Matt Frewer in here, he doesn't fit in this shuttle pod, and that's just the happenstance of production giving us a little extra something visually that he doesn't fit here.
Right, he doesn't fit in the time. That's good. I mean, I feel like if I'm looking at this kind of ship now, it's kind of giving me some Mork and Mindy vibes. So I feel like that might have been a nod to that in as far as the art design goes. If Robin Williams would have had this, but that he's here and that he doesn't fit in it, it is kind of like why would you buy a car that you couldn't sit in? Why would he have like a time travel anything that he didn't fit in? And that kind of like should have been a red flag. New Jersey. Gee whiz.
Everything's legal in New Jersey.
Yeah, everything's bad in New Jersey. And this is where, like, Data's just ice cold. Like, he's like, yeah, I can knock you out and still use your hand, right? Or cut it off, whatever.
Dave's like, I got a knife right here. It's like, where did you get that? I mean, Worf. And they both say together, Worf, obviously. You got it from Worf.
Yeah, they're both like, Worf. Yeah, I should have known.
Yeah. So.
Uh-oh.
And Picard's like, wait, you were a conman the whole time? Oh my god, exceptional, sir. Great mystery.
I accused you of being a time traveler without a mystery, and I stand corrected, sir.
We kind of talked over him trying to, like, charm Crusher into helping him.
Yeah.
It's like, they didn't establish that enough. She didn't reciprocate enough for that to play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's a good try.
Yeah, for sure. And he's gonna go to like some sort of, I guess, history lab. Yeah.
So we're going to consign you. We're going to put him in the tower.
I think it would be kind of funny if like he shows up to that base and he's like, oh yeah, we'll put him with the other time travelers. Like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, this happens every so often. It's like a zoo. We'll figure out what you need and keep it in your room. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, don't worry. The first person to be here was a marine biologist. She adjusted pretty well. And Worf was like, oh, I'm sorry. And Picard's like, Mr. Worf, how did you do this? Such a mistake, Mr. Worf. Take him away. I'll put a reprimand on your record. But sir, I just said, no, Mr. Worf. This was all on you.
Yeah.
But nothing got stolen, sir. No. We lost the time ship, didn't we? Time ship in 20th century New Jersey. And Worf's like, it's not my fault. That's your fault, Mr. Worf.
I need you to own it and be the commander that we all know you are. Worf
I
just
always
is
love
like
that little-
shocked, and he's like, "Whatever, I'm leaving."
Yeah, that welcome to the 24th century line.
Yeah,
I'm just a fan
yeah.
of it. I don't know why. There's no logical reason for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, "Hey, look, we won." It's like the "Hey, like I won" line.
Yeah, I guess it also centers us in time, especially for an episode that talks about the future and all. It's good to remind us when this series what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, final thoughts, matter of time.
I gotta say, I'm a little biased for this episode because I'm such a Matt Frewer fan. I think I like the time episode. I like the time kind of plot. I like the geography plot. All of that feels really good. The pacing's tight, and just Frewer's charisma just sells so much for me. The only thing that does kind of bug me a little bit is that I feel like Troy should have been more involved, just because she's an empath, and that makes sense. You could have like committed or get off the pot when it comes to like him and Crusher. Because I feel like, as it stands, you didn't really need it. Because we don't really buy that there was ever a thing that Crusher would have done for him. But beyond that, this was an enjoyable episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's definitely above par. I enjoyed it a lot. So the next episode we're going to watch is New Ground. But next week, we are going to be watching Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
Oh, yeah.
Which we already kind of watched the trailer for.
Yeah.
So we'll see you then. And until then,
remember Rand.
I'll make this short because no one likes credits. Star Trek is property of CBS Television Studios and Paramount Pictures. We are watching Star Trek on Netflix. We are talking over Discord. And we are recording and editing on Audacity. The Beige and the Bold is hosted on Anchor and can be found on most podcasting platforms. I would also like to thank our senior officer Patreons for supporting The Beige and the Bold. They also make video editions of this podcast and remasters of old episodes possible. So thank you to Tracker by Moonlight and Miss Jess. If you have any questions or concerns about the show, please contact me at vanvelding@gmail.com or on Twitter @vanvelding. Thank you, and remember Rand.